It's one of those days that starts with a slow news day and then just explodes in our face. Just absolutely amazing news. I've got all the updates on Iran, Kash Patel, but first I have a Supreme Court bombshell that I did not see coming. And I love paying these things off right at the start. Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. Of course, I see all the happy patriots right there in the chat. Thanks for coming in. Give us a thumbs up. All 70 of you. This is going to be my deal with you. As long as the number of people coming in keep going up, I will stay on the air. Unless I have to go to the bathroom. I'm a 59-year-old man with a very small bladder. But, well, let's get to the Ron DeSantis thing first. So thanks for seeing all my happy patriots here. You are my longtime fans. I love starting to recognize the community, at least hundreds and hundreds of you. The more vocal you are, it doesn't just help the channel, but it's also, I notice you in the chat and I start to see your names and see your face. And I've gotten to know some of you over the years as just amazing supporters and members of this community. So here we go. I got the first two news items are just going to be so explosive. It's insane. So let's get to it, shall we? This is from Axios today, and I had no idea this one was coming. Axios reports that President Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis have spoken in recent days about DeSantis's future. Because, you know, he can't stay governor of Florida forever. So what's he going to do next? DeSantis says his dream job would be a U.S. Supreme Court justice, and that he is very close with Clarence Thomas. DeSantis on the Supreme Court would be huge. So my first question to the chat before I read the actual Axios segment is, do you give approval and thumbs up to Ron DeSantis on the Supreme Court? If you think he's been effective before in Florida, governors are not a lifetime appointment. Neither are presidents of the United States a lifetime appointment. But the Supreme Court is for very serious constitutional patriots. He's nice and young. He's friends with Clarence Thomas because, you know, Clarence Thomas takes that motorhome all around America. He's one of the few judges that actually goes and visits normal people. He spends a ton of time in Florida. So he has met Ron DeSantis. They're buddies. So I believe we could get a Ron DeSantis originalist or a constitutionalist in the same realm as Clarence Thomas and Alito. And Ron DeSantis would actually have a pretty good chance of getting approved because of his run as governor. So I'm going to check in on the chat here. Yeah, put him on the court. Everyone's saying hi. DeSantis would be great. That's the overwhelming response. So even though some MAGA people go like, oh, Ron DeSantis, he's a dirty rhino, until they saw Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson show up and Marjorie Taylor Greene, everyone got real sober real quick going, you know what? Ron DeSantis would be pretty nice, I would say, given what a killer job he's done in Florida. And he really is amazing in Florida. So I don't know who would have a better judicial philosophy. And by the way, Ted Cruz is being run up there too. I like Ted Cruz. I think he's an incredible constitutional scholar. I think he's a little into himself. And I don't mean that, you know, I don't want to just slam the guy, but you know what I mean? On the Supreme Court, if you look at these guys, there isn't a lot of ego or grandstanding or wanting to hear themselves talk. And I think Ted Cruz, as great as he is, and I think he'd be great on the court, I'm just saying Ron DeSantis is a little more turned under. You know what I mean? Yeah, look at that. You guys are saying, let's run him right up to Chief Justice. There's a no Ted Cruz one. Again, you could do a lot worse than these guys, but Trump is exactly the kind of guy that would do something pretty untraditional, like putting Ron DeSantis on the Supreme Court. Here's the rest of the paragraph as it showed up in Axios. DeSantis is 100% not interested in the AG job. So it sounds like Trump brought him in for the attorney general job when he was getting ready to can Pam Bondi, or it could even be the ongoing discussions now, because Todd Blanche is only the acting attorney general. He hasn't been approved yet as the attorney general, which has to go before Congress. And good luck getting a majority vote on that. But so he brought in Ron DeSantis, obviously, to talk about that job. And by the way, the attorney general is the job that no human being should ever want. No matter what you do, you fail. No matter what you do, it isn't enough. It is a thankless job. And I think that's actually why Pam Bondi stepped down. You know, we all say Pam Bondi got fired, but that's not the official claim. The official claim was that she was stepping down to go into the private sector. That's the official claim. And Trump said she was great, she was great, she was great. She's going to do more work in the public sector. Now I've flat out dismissed that as, look, Trump candor. But it's entirely possible that all of the online, no matter what you do, you're not only going to be called names and a terrible person, but you're also probably going to get tried by the Democrats. You're going to be run through our courts. You could go to jail. She's a young lady. So it's like, look, I'll step down, Trump, if you'll give me a presidential pardon, is probably how the conversation went. And she could have just gotten tired of all the online abuse. DeSantis would be interested in two things: war secretary or Supreme Court. So war secretary would be great for Ron DeSantis too. He's been in the military. Or Supreme Court, which would be his dream job. So Ron DeSantis himself wants, and you get that lifetime appointment, and just think of what Ron DeSantis can do with the rest of his life. You don't have to run for office ever again. It's just, I'll just show up and save the country one court case at a time. DeSantis and conservative Justice Clarence Thomas, the source said, almost have get this, I'm going to put this up on screen so you can see it. They almost have a father-son relationship between Ron DeSantis and Clarence Thomas, and would be a hell of a legacy for Trump. Now that is a great, incredible bombshell. There's always someone in the chat, because I read the title, this Supreme Court bombshell. When's the bombshell going to come? That was the bombshell. In case you missed it, you may not think that's a big thing. Those of us who follow the Supreme Court every day and follow Ron DeSantis's career, and look, if the Republicans lose the next presidential election and these guys are aging out, we can't afford to have one of them replaced with a Democrat. It's entirely possible that Clarence Thomas and Sam Alito could be going, it's time for us to find our replacement. So that's the bombshell on that one. You guys are all overwhelmingly saying that you love Ron DeSantis. Ted is better where he is. I agree. Although I really like Ted Cruz. there's something about him being a bit of an attention hound that I think kind of goes against the Supreme Court. They're not about the attention hound or making headlines. They're just very sober and judicious. And I don't think of Ted Cruz as being quiet, sober, and judicious. I do see Ron DeSantis being a little more introverted in that way. And I think it's actually why he lost that primary against Trump, is he could never campaign. On paper, he looked great, but campaign-wise, he didn't have the personality type to go out and go toe-to-toe with Trump. He'd make a perfect Supreme Court justice. $10 super chat. Hey, what are you doing? Starting without me, lol. I'm so sorry, Krevlab. I thought you got my personal message calling you, as I call all 1,700 of you. I will try to get on that, not starting without you next time. because the next thing that I'm going to show you, this is nuts. So we already covered this week, promised it was coming, threatened that this was coming, and now it's here. You guys want to hear from Todd Blanche and Kash Patel? They've been saying, we promise there's going to be arrests. We're going to drop a bomb. This is going to be giant news. It's coming right up. Well, here's the first taste from their mouth, Kash Patel and Todd Blanche.
Good afternoon. Today, a few minutes ago, in the Middle District of Alabama, a grand jury returned an 11-count indictment charging the Southern Poverty Law Center with 6 counts of wire fraud, 4 counts of bank fraud, and 1 count of conspiracy to commit money laundering. That's the
SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, the most probably well-funded, crooked, communist, radical communist. And those charges, they went out to a grand jury. This is what you guys were dreaming of. To the people saying we want to arrest, and I've said, I don't know how well you'd get it in this district. They called in the grand jury, and the grand jury were not a bunch of Democrats. Or the evidence was so clear that there was wire fraud and criminal stuff. So they've been working behind the scenes on this. They haven't been running it through the newspapers because they don't care what people think about them. They're not going, I better protect my reputation with MAGA and start giving them details that could screw up one of our investigations. No, they said, we're going to quietly do the work. By the way, there's no way that this happened in just the 2 weeks since Todd Blanche was there. I'll let you guys figure out who actually started this thing. I will not name the name.
According to the charges in the indictment, the SPLC is a nonprofit entity that purports to fight white supremacy and racial hatred by reporting on extremist groups and conducting research to inform law enforcement groups with the goal of dismantling these groups. As the indictment describes, the SPLC was not dismantling these groups. It was instead manufacturing the extremism it purports to oppose by paying sources to stoke racial hatred.
Yep.
The indictment describes this conduct in detail, but one troubling example is that the SPLC was paying a member of the leadership group that planned the Unite the Right protest in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017 that resulted in the death of 1 person and injured dozens more.
So that was the Charlottesville both sides hoax against Trump. That was funded by the SPLC. That goes back to Charlottesville in 2017. So they're not newly crooked. They've been crooked all the time and fomenting racial hatred, racist hatred, black against white. They actually don't care if it's white against black too, because they just want the hatred out there to make their case. So they tried making the case in Charlottesville. What happened was someone had a bunch of people all around their car. He backed up and hit someone and killed him. That was the only killing in that march, was by one driver mowing over someone because he felt his life was threatened. Now, that's not an excuse, but it's not like it was a white person targeting someone with his car. And the SPLC, we now find out they funded that whole radical event. So weird how while Biden was going around saying that white supremacists and MAGA Republicans are the greatest threat to American security right now, the number one threat, not terrorism, not illegals, grabbing your daughters. He said it was white supremacists. And come to find out, the only people actually funding and fomenting racism in a formal way is the SPLC, and Todd Blanche got him. I can't have my hats off to this man and Kash Patel hard enough. Look how sober he is. He's not grandstanding or screaming. Very legal and judicious. So this is going somewhere. And SPLC is a clown car. MAGA Justin, $10 super chat. Love the exile family. MAGA is forever. True. Absolutely true. And jury rigged, 9712, $100 super chat. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that so much. The globalists' great reset is being stopped by our greater awakening. God bless President Trump. Now, that's true, guys. I don't know of another awakening besides these two. That is Donald Trump taking a bullet and Charlie Kirk taking a bullet. Donald Trump to wake up MAGA and Charlie Kirk to wake up Christians. Donald Trump, MAGA, Charlie Kirk, Christians. You have those two groups in this great new awakening, and it's bigger than the great awakening that the globalists, Charles Schwab, and the bug eaters talk about. So good one on that one, jury rigged. Thank you.
This particular person being paid by the SPLC allegedly received approximately $270,000 over the course of 8 years.
What?
In total, according to the indictment, between 2014 and 2023, SPLC paid at least $3 million to 8 individuals at least. These individuals were affiliated with the Ku Klux Klan, United Klans of America, National Socialist Movement, Aryan Nations Affiliated Sadistic Souls Motorcycle Club, the Nationalist Socialist Party of America, Nazis, and the American Front.
Now, why would the SPLC be funding Klansmen? Chat, it's time to play detective. I thought the Southern Poverty Law Center was against racism. Why are they funding Klansmen and Aryan Nation and National Socialist biker groups, which are Nazis, as well as the normal Antifa, socialist, communist groups they also fund? Why would they fund them and have them go to Charlottesville? And by the way, people in Charlottesville should be furious because the SPLC is trying to pay these people to show up to make you look like this is a normal part of your community and not just some paid for AstroTurf cosplay spam. You tell me, why are they paying for it? Let's play detective together. 2,400 people watching. Give us a thumbs up. This is a absolute stunning, shocking bombshell. Who's funding the white supremacists? And then Biden had to have known about it because he did the marketing when he said the greatest threat to America is white supremacists and MAGA Republicans. Do you remember that? Who remembers Lloyd Austin, Defense Secretary, and Milley and the generals coming out and saying that they needed more DEI in our military and started promoting unqualified, low-ranking minorities up through the ranks and firing and canning whites, including removing people who would not take the vax, which overwhelmingly were white conservatives. I think this goes deeper. I think these guys are just showing you the tip of the iceberg. I think this was a Democrat Party massive plan, branding and marketing plan to create, invent, and pay for Nazi groups to be more vocal and make sure they showed up at pro-MAGA events and Trump events, cause violence, and they're freaks. These people are freaks. They have nowhere in the Republican Party, nowhere in MAGA, and the media all ran with it. Trump said they were good people on both sides. Trump, and then the part that they clipped out of that was where Trump said, not white supremacists. We have no place for racists in America. They cut that part out and just had him say, look, there's good people on both sides. And the media ran with it. And Trump won that lawsuit to the people that kept, and they still believe that hoax, called the both sides hoax. So I think this one could really, when they check all the emails, guys, when they get disclosure, their lawyers get disclosure on the Southern Poverty Law Center, and they get all the emails, from Fonnie Willis, from Reverend Jesse Jackson, from Ralph Warnock in the South, possibly some White House or some marketing firms, coordination. I think this could get very interesting as the truth rolls out.
Now, as the indictment lays out, after SPLC paid members of these extremist groups, it created work product that reported on these activities that the members participated in or contributed to. And to that end, it was doing the exact opposite of what it's told its donors it was doing.
So it also funded the reporting. He called it product. This went from a slow news day to holy cow. Look at, I just want to show you guys, look at Kash Patel there on the right. I got to show you his little, look at that. Snapped at attention, staring into camera. Yes, sir. Here we go, sir. So this is a very strong case. They got half the problem out of the way, the grand jury. Now they need a judge. I don't have high hopes. But if you get the grand jury and the judge, you get arrests. That's where the arrests come from. So for those of you wanting arrests, the first step is they went out to the grand jury with the case. The grand jury came back and said, yes, that's what a grand jury is for, to privately detect if there's a crime that is worth prosecuting. They come back and say, yes, we believe there's a crime. It's not a conviction. It just says, yes, you can now launch the whole thing. And we've done a lot of grand juries that came back with nothing. They got dismissed. That's why, and then people blame Pam Bondi. That's okay. Here's Molly Hemingway on the rat. So this is goes our theme of we're doing a lot of the Supreme Court here. This is Molly Hemingway, one of my favorite writers at the Federalist. And I like her husband a lot too. And she has the new book out on Alito, is by her. One of the first books ever written on Alito is by Molly Hemingway. Here she says it's because the Supreme Court can't get what they want. The liberals can't get what they want in court. So they're undermining the judicial process by, for the first time ever, the liberals are leaking information to weaken the conservative side of the court.
I have a new book out today, Alito, which tells the behind-the-scenes story of what happened with the Dobbs leak. You are correct that we've seen this increase in bad relationships between the justices or
Okay, I don't know what I just did, but I just bounced myself out of my own show. How bad am I? Sorry, guys. Let me get back to that Molly Hemingway clip right here. And I got to do a little bit of a rewind for you guys. So sorry about that. If I flick the mouse to the right a little bit, it'll just throw me right out of the record room on my app. Okay, here's Molly Hemingway.
So that they can get their work done. You know, justices throughout the history of the court have said how important it is that they can work without fear of this type of, public discussion of the topics. It's an attempt to go after the court and to achieve results that people are not able to achieve through normal court procedures. That's what we saw with the Dobbs leak, where in my book I showed that the liberal justices actually delayed their dissent in the Dobbs decision after the leak intentionally, even though their colleagues were facing death threats. And we even had an assassination threat at Kavanaugh. And it's also what you're seeing with this most recent leak from the New York Times. The liberal justices are not happy with what they're getting. They're not winning on the strength of their arguments. And so you're seeing more and more of these politicized leaks.
Politicized leaks. So they're trying terrorism. This is like a very kind version of terrorism. They can't get their, they know that they're out. They know that they're outnumbered. The liberals are. So this is an extrajudicial philosophy that they're going to try to get things to go their way. 2,600 of you watching. If you're new, just joining us, this is Doug in Exile, where I go through the news with you. It's all good stuff, all the truth, no conspiracies, no whack job. I'm pretty cautious and careful with my material. I try and go to the primary sources instead of, because I'll give you all we'll do a UFO report later in this, way later in the show. It's just dumb, totally fake. I'll show you exactly why. $10 super chat from Krevlab. If you did not make mistakes, we would know you're not trying. Well, if I didn't make mistakes, you might think that I actually knew what I was doing on my show. Here's Josh Hawley. I love this.
House of Representatives at the podium there, and to the face of the justices, browbeat and criticize them personally for a decision he didn't like. I've heard a lot of fussing from the other side of the aisle. They don't like how President Trump is critical of the court. Really? I don't remember a word when Barack Obama stood and looked at the justices and personally attacked them at a State of the Union address. But that was just the merest beginning. We have had since then an assassination attempt on the life of a justice, Brett Kavanaugh. We have had the
conservative Brett Kavanaugh had a assassination attempt. And Barack Obama being a liberal president. So no one said anything about it when he intimidated the justices to their face.
Current minority leader of the Senate go to the floor, to the steps rather of the Supreme Court, Chuck Schumer, go to the steps of the court and threaten the justices by name. By name. We've had a coordinated leak from within the court meant to derail the Dobbs opinion and to destroy it. We have had dark money groups, left-wing dark money groups funding illegal protests at the justices' homes.
I wonder if the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, did some funding at the justices' homes. They showed up at their homes.
After an assassination attempt on the justices that the Biden Justice Department and FBI refused to stop, despite the fact they were illegal. For months, these illegal protests meant to threaten the security of the justices went on. Months and months and months, and the Biden Justice Department couldn't lift a finger. And I don't remember hardly a peep from the other side of the aisle. Oh no, this is a deliberate attempt to tell the court, do what we want you to do or we will destroy you. And this is just the latest attempt. I don't know what's going to be left. I mean, if the justices' private papers can be leaked, you know, I'll give the Times credit. They're at least honest. They say they talked to, at least in addition to getting the private papers, 10 different individuals who were formerly employed at the court, who were familiar with deliberations over pivotal emergency orders and spoke on condition of anonymity. Why? Because, and I quote, confidentiality was a condition of their employment. In other words, multiple people from within the court who were delighted to violate their own employment agreements in order to put the private deliberations of the justices into view with the sole purpose of trying to destroy this institution's independence.
Fact. Why was it only conservative justices' notes that were leaked to the public? Why was it only Alito, Roberts? Why? Because if they just wanted to give you the news and have a scoop, these same people could have leaked stuff from the liberal justices' notes, but zero. So this is a Democrat outlaw, and he has a right to be upset. And that means all of the people doing the leaking work for Kagan, possibly work for Kagan, but for sure work for Sotomayor, her clerks, or whoever it is, and Ketanji Brown Jackson, though I don't think Ketanji Brown Jackson's clerks can even spell. So I don't even know how they'd even be able to read a memo. Always one way.
I happen to believe in our system of government. I believe the three branches were designed for a reason. I believe the independence of the Supreme Court is vital. And if I believe if you don't like decisions of that court, and there are plenty I disagree with, plenty, from Citizens United to many, many more. But you do not address those differences of opinion by trying to destroy the institutional legitimacy and independence of the court. And that is exactly what the American left is trying to do in a coordinated fashion. And I'll end with this, Mr. Chairman. We need to follow the money. Those protests at the justice's home that were designed to threaten their safety were funded by somebody. They were funded.
Soros, SPLC.
I want to know who funded them. I want to know where the money from this pressure campaign, this multi-year pressure campaign, is coming from. We need to have hearings in this committee to unveil the sources of this funding, of this campaign, and of this attempt to undermine our system of government. It is a clear and present danger to the operation of our Constitution, Mr. Chairman.
FBI. We'll get the FBI on it. Find out who did it and who got paid. Now I'm going to stay on that Supreme Court leak for just a second, because the Supreme Court is not supposed to be victim of public sway. And so this is a huge breach of their tradition, in that public sway is touching them for the first time. Mike Davis has a theory. He hates Amy Coney Barrett. Mike Davis does, who I respect, but he doesn't like Amy Coney Barrett because he keeps saying she was personally intimidated, is why he believes she goes wonky on some decisions, that she's actually terrified for her life. That is not our system of government. That's not how it's supposed to work, guys.
Turley, he's got a column up on foxnews.com. He says that Chief Justice John Roberts has to bring in the FBI here to try to find these leakers. He writes in part, quote, "For the future of the court and the faith of the public, Roberts has to set his reservations aside and bring in the FBI to find the culprit. Most importantly, he has to guarantee total transparency and allowing the public to see the results wherever they may lead." Molly, we got.
I love this because Jonathan Turley already knows how this is going to go. It's Justice Roberts that won't call on the FBI. And if he did call on the FBI, they won't release the results. So Jonathan Turley's going, he has to call on the FBI and he has to make the results public of what they find.
About 30 seconds left. Final word to you here. Do you agree with Jonathan?
If you do not punish people for breaking the norms and the procedures and maybe even the laws that are governing the court here, you're going to see more of that. And the failure to really do a good investigation for the Dobbs leaker, I think we're seeing the fallout right now.
Yeah, it's because we didn't do anything about Dobbs with that massive leak that now you get this one, and more are coming, guys. This is part of the corruption of our system that we've been talking about. Too much work for this one little administration to do. It's thousands and thousands of cells and amoebas in our government that need to be investigated and busted. It's a target-rich environment. This is Robert Gannon, $10 super chat. Congratulations on your Marine son. I'm a former. Jarhead, 83 to 87. My devil dogs, my jarheads. The few, the proud. And I can't wait to hear from my son. He will be completely transformed from what he was. Completely transformed. He went in with hair down to here, guys. His hair was down to here when he went in. And now we see him just shaved, doing push-ups. I see triceps and biceps on him. I'm just saying, it's going to be like talking to, it'll still be our son. He's got a huge, incredible heart, but boy, does he need the Marines really bad. And I hope the Marines need him too. Oh, this one's good. From Miranda Devine. First, let me do, this is what the Miranda Devine one is based on. So I'll do this one first. This is Lee Smith, excellent and informative piece about how Obama, then Biden, turned the Department of Justice into a political weapon. This is about the Obama administration with Eric Holder, the AG. So, and why it's right to assign attorney, this is from Reed Quinones right here. Joseph de Genova. I know that I say that name wrong and you guys keep correcting me. Joseph de Genova has been sworn in as counselor to the Attorney General of the U.S. Department of Justice, stepping into senior advisory role on key legal policy. And now the comment on that I want to present on my show that I really like is this one by Miranda Devine. She says, illuminating an example of how the decks are stacked against Republican administrations in Washington. Let this sink in, guys, because now you'll have wisdom. If you want to know why there's no arrests, it is not because the arresters are not doing their job. The arresters are working about as hard as a human being can work. It's because the cards were stacked up against the administration in Washington, and how aggressively Obama and Biden played the game while posing as ethical upholders of norms. Quote, for 12 of the 16 years from 2008 to 2024, Democrat presidential administrations engaged in deliberate hiring practices in order to rid the DOJ, the Department of Justice, of the vast majority of experienced conservative trial attorneys who joined from 2000 to 2008. Who was president from 2002? Oh, the great George W. Bush packed the Department of Justice with conservative attorneys. And then Biden and Obama's sole goal was to replace them across the board with liberal attorneys. And they've been gutting that department. So just so you know, when Pam Bondi showed up to work, when Harmeet Dillon showed up to work, when Janine Pirro showed up to work, they said we're about 10,000 lawyers short. Hundreds of them walked out. The Democrat ones walked out. Remember, Trump was trying to fire them all and get them replaced. It was so corrupt that you can't even conduct an investigation because you go across all your cubicles of the people that work there, and no one wants to do the hard work on your project to indict, say, Mayorkas. They'll go, I'm not going to work on that. That group of conservative attorneys, if they were still in the Department of Justice, would range in experience from 18 to 25 years, over the course of which dozens of significant investigations and trials would have developed and refined the skill set necessary to lead an investigation like the one taking place in Florida. We literally have not been developing the manpower, that there aren't that many bodies laying around that we could even use. The absence of that contingent of prosecutors inside the Department of Justice when Trump began his second term is what has forced the administration to look outside for someone like Joe DeGenova. So that seems like good news that we're getting him. It's actually really sad. There's no one inside he could hire from and bring them up to that level. We had to get someone from outside. So now you guys know a little more what we're up against. Long-term corruption. We don't know if we can turn it around. I only know that the Republicans under MAGA are the only shot that we have. There is not a plan B. There's not another shot coming to rescue us after this if it doesn't work. So all the MAGA people that are going, I'm going to attack Trump by saying that we went to war with for Israel, that does not help Trump's charter, Trump's strength, and MAGA's strength. We have to absolutely wipe out the Democrats this fall. And they're just going to put tar in Trump's wheels because people are predicting we're going to lose the House. We're not sure if we're going to lose the Senate. You lose both. And Trump's called a lame duck. I don't know if he can do anything. So that's what's at stake. That's why I'm a loyalist to Trump. I'm a loyalist to MAGA. I'm a loyalist to the Republican Party, because that is the only way we are ever going to get a win for patriots and America. It does not happen outside of that system. It doesn't happen with a third party libertarian lunatic. It doesn't happen with an independent lunatic. No independence, no third party. So you'll hear a lot of vocabulary of people saying, I'm not for either party. I'm an independent. I don't support. Nope. I used to be that way. I'm a Republican now. Proud to say it over and over again. We have to destroy Democrats. Here's, this is the shipwrecked crew with that same tweet, his piece on it. This is the paywall article that he posted, and we can get around. Former DC U.S. Attorney Joe DeGenova takes over leadership of the grand conspiracy investigation in Florida. Good news. Why that is necessary. Department of Justice lacks numbers in a certain demographic of federal prosecutors, conservatives between 45 and 60 with wear on the tires, but a wealth of experience gained in building big cases in the past. We don't have the experience. And that is troubling, guys. What's this? $10 super chat. Making lemonator from lemons. Excited for your family. My son just left for Fort Jackson. Same place I did basic training. Prayers to your son. Thank him for his service. This, unlike many channels, this channel is pro-military, 100%. Love them. Absolutely. My hat in my hand. Because I'm an artist. I just draw. The military guys are why I get to draw anything I want. If you have the freedom to speak, the freedom to do what you want, you can thank a military person, because there's people out there that would destroy our country if we didn't have a military. And the first thing they do is they go after your free speech. Look, there's a new member. We do have memberships open, making lemonade from lemons. They'll cost you a little something a month, but subscriptions are free. So you can still subscribe for free. Just have to do my thing. Ooh, this is Trump and Iran. We got a lot of news in Iran today, but this one to me is the most important. Because there's a lot of people that just kind of don't care about other countries, and fine. They're like, America first means America alone, means America only, means America, America, America. And we don't ever help anyone else. Don't ever ask us for help, and we'll never ask you for help, because we're going to have to do this alone. Look, the member for 4 months, Ron from Tennessee. If you love America, never ever put an X next to a Democrat, as Doug always says. Fact. Ron from Tennessee. I'm having Mary Smith on my show. She's running for county mayor here. That's going to be on Friday, I think. All my Franklin, Tennessee people are going to be voting for Mary Smith for mayor. Here's Trump with this. This is the picture of these beautiful girls that are going to be executed in Iran. This is what they look like. These wonderful girls are about to be executed in Iran. So here's what Trump wrote. To the Iranian leaders who will soon be in negotiations with my representatives. And then we found out that that didn't happen. I would greatly appreciate the release of these women. I am sure they will respect the fact that you did so. He's speaking their language, guys. This is to a male, honor-based society that Trump is speaking to. Notice his change of tone. This is not, I will destroy your civilization. This is man-to-man respect, which I'm just saying, Trump is brilliant for this one. I would greatly appreciate the release of these women. I am sure that they will respect the fact that you did so. Please do them no harm. Would be a great start to our negotiations. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. And then this is based on, in response to this Eyal Yacobi, who I get a lot of my news from. Breaking: the Islamic Republic is preparing to hang 8 women. Not a word from the international community or so-called human rights organizations, all of them run by Democrats and feminists. Not a word from them. Not a word from them. Funny, there's a word from Trump. How come there's no word from them? Wait, there's more. Here's this Eyal Yacobi. Since Trump entered the political sphere, he has been accused nonstop of being a misogynistic and racist. Misogynistic against women and racist against other countries. Yet right now, he is quite literally the only world leader on this entire freaking planet Earth saying anything about 8 brown Iranian women being executed by the Islamic Republic. Weird. So this puts to shame all of your liberal, some of you have liberal Christian friends. They're all like, I don't like the way Trump speaks. Trump's course. Trump's dangerous. Well, I just showed you where he gently went in and confronted them. So better or worse. And he gets no credit. None of them will join him. Where's Macron? Where's Germany? Where are they? Yeah, where's Jane Fonda? Where's the feminists? Where? Nothing. Where's the Me Too movement? All these women will be sexually assaulted, by the way, before they hang them, because they believe that if you're raped before you die, you don't have a chance of going to heaven. In their weirdo, ass-backwards, primitive Islamic radical regime cult that they're in. 30%. The 30% that run Iran are a psychotic cult that we're bombing. That's the civilization we want to end. Free the Iranian people, get them out of their hijabs, and then someone's going to say, you're just saying this for Israel. Because those people, they're not chivalrous, they're not gentlemen, they're not real men. Real men protect women. Real men care about innocent women being ravaged by savages. So these are all fake men that are going, America alone, America alone. Some woman over there is being tormented. Not my trouble, not my problem. Eating a Big Mac over the barbecue, playing Xbox all day on your parents' couch. Not my problem. Let them take up arms. Let them take up arms. You know, I didn't have to take up arms for my country. I just played video games and I got full citizenship. And now I just eat Big Macs and watch cable. That's what I do. Ride my quad around. I didn't fight for my country. But you know what? Those people over there, those women, they can fight the regime. Don't ask for any help. By the way, we wouldn't have won the Revolutionary War without France. And they gave us half our country, the Louisiana Purchase. Without France, we wouldn't have won against England. Without Russia, we wouldn't have won against Hitler. So everyone needs a little help until it's time for us to go do it. And of course, I don't expect our little Frenchy weirdo allies to come in and help at all. They're cowards. But when Americans do it, when Americans go, call someone else, we're not here to help, ever. See ya. See ya, we're America first. All right, if that's America first, okay. Now, this is that ballot. This is part of why this is so disgusting. This is that Obama redistricting thing that we're hoping goes down today in Virginia. I don't have high hopes. But I'm just going to read the wording on this to show you how bad this is. Should the Constitution of Virginia be amended to allow the General Assembly to temporarily adopt new congressional districts to restore fairness? So now if you vote against this, you're voting against restoring fairness. What they really mean is to offset the seats in Texas, makes it fair. To restore fairness. What a sham. I can't believe that's how it went on the ballot. This is a total scam. Yeah, vote no. That's what we're doing down here in the box. No. On this constitutional. And by the way, they say it's temporary. We all know it's permanent. They say it's temporary, but really, as long as it benefits liberals, it's permanent. If it doesn't benefit liberals, it will be temporary. Those are the rules. $20 super chat, Jeff Swanson. If you don't care about what's happening to that should tell you something. People are saying a lot of these things right now. You shall know them by their fruits. Thank you, Trump. Agree. Agree. I don't think we need to be the world police. Trump doesn't want us to be the world police. He's picking his battles. This is a battle he wants to pick. Now we've got some Soros, dark money news. Dark money. George Soros linked network funnels $64 million into that Virginia redistricting referendum. That's one that Barack Obama was lying to everyone and getting them all to go for, even though he was against redistricting 8 years ago. George Soros paid $64 million. Shouldn't that be illegal? Through groups with no IRS filings on record. I hope we can finally get this Antichrist in jail. George Soros. What a creep. Oh man, this one's good. Dan Bongino. He knows some things about Kash Patel. I just like this one because you guys know I'm a big fan of Dan Bongino. He's very much the anti-black pillars, anti-nothing's ever going to happen, anti those people. And he knows what Kash Patel was up to. And he's going, just wait. You haven't seen anything yet, guys.
One final thing, too, before we start, that this is just the beginning of the show. I promise you this. Look at me. Everybody zooming in. Fokker, that's an O. The hit on Kash Patel, the bullshit hit by The Atlantic, which I addressed yesterday, is going to make a lot more sense in the coming weeks and months. I can't give you a definitive timeline. I'm on the outside now. However, I can tell you what I know is going on because I started a lot of it. It's going to make a lot more sense real soon as to why the left-wing media and the Democrats want Kash Patel out. That's
what they do. They do a hit piece on Kash Patel being a slobbering drunk alcoholic. It's the kind of pressure they do. Just it's easy for them to run that through their journalists with a made-up story, all unverified sources. No one hung out more with Kash Patel than Dan Bongino. They talk about having their offices right next to each other. They're working around the clock. He would see if Kash Patel has a drinking problem, and he doesn't. The Democrat media learned. What was the pilot program on this lie? Who else did they say had a drinking problem? Do you remember? Pete Hegseth. They said was an alcoholic, and so he shouldn't be Department of Secretary. All those stories went away as soon as he got approved because he wasn't a slobbering drunk in public. It never happened. Never happened. And so they dropped the story. If it did happen, and Kash Patel was an alcoholic, believe me, he'd be slobbering drunk all this week. He's not. But what Bongino is saying is what Kash Patel is bringing out, what he's working on, is going to be so devastating to the Democrat Party. So shots fired first on the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, one of the oldest Democrat institutions, funding institutions. I hope they lose their charitable 501c3 status.
I promise.
You promise?
Look at me. Look me in the eye. Wow. Whoa. What the hell was that? Guys scared me with the close-up, even me. Look me in the eye, and I'm telling you, I promise this thing is going to make a whole lot of sense. You're going to find out, as they say in the South, right quick about why they need him out like now. It's got nothing to do with that story being even remotely true. Remember this. Bookmark it. Flags in the chat. Flags in the chat.
His chat puts a bunch of American flags in there. We all have our little show, thumbs up thing, happy face, whatever. But I've seen MAGA going after Kash Patel, going, he needs to be fired next. I've only seen good news about Kash Patel. Haven't heard a single rumor from anyone within the Trump circle saying Kash Patel is on the outs. He's not doing his job well enough. He is on the bubble. He's about to go. They heard that lie, no arrests. By the way, no one's arrested more people than Kash Patel. We're talking, well, maybe Tom Homan, but literally tens of thousands of child predators he has put in prison. He's turned around cities like Memphis, putting the FBI on the ground, ending crime. He's the one who helped Trump lower the murder rates to 1922. His reward is going to be to get fired. So I hope he's not fired. And the people that are trying to get him fired, you're working against MAGA. Politically incorrect forever. And other channels are going off on Kash Patel being a fraud. Alleged MAGA right-wingers. Politically incorrect forever, $10 super chat. That's the same horse shite that the Atlantic and the Democrats pulled to try to get Pete Hegseth. That's right, buddy. You saw it. My people know. It's a pattern. This is part of a color revolution. Watch Liz Wheeler's podcast. I follow her on Twitter, so I'm covering all that color revolution stuff that's coming out. It's very detailed, though, and very complicated. So I could do it. I have a couple articles here. We'll see. Yeah, pray. Pray. Never forget the power of prayer. Yeah, Miss Julia, I don't want my audience just watching and screaming and posting and not praying. Prayer is we beseech God, we go to before the Lord, before the mighty throne and say, you are sovereign. And the sovereign, guess what? He asked us, he told us to pray. He says, pray in all things. So it's not just he's in control and don't talk to him. He wants to hear your prayer. Make it a good one. Make it the best prayer you can make. This morning I got up. I always feel sloppy when I pray, but this morning I got up, I knelt by my bed and just like, it was maybe 15 seconds. Prayed for my son, my country, my family, and thanked God for everything I have. Then I read the Bible. Galatians, baby.
Flag it up. Flag it up, kids. And when the nothing that's supposed to be happening actually happens and the nothing is happening, doomers have to change their story for the umpteenth time.
Doomers have to change their story. I don't have to change my story. Doomers about Kash Patel are going to be changing their story. They're going to be, did I say no arrests? Did I say he's doing nothing? Oh, wait, he's doing everything now. I was wrong. Thanks for the 1 million subscribers. I'm trying to just barely hold on to 628,000 subscribers. Let's get me to 630 on this show. 3,100 people watching. Of course, you're all subscribers. My people in the bunker already.
Again, it'll make a world of sense why the doomers are in bed with the left-wing media trying to get rid of Kash.
And they're all getting paid, by the way. The doomers getting paid to get rid of Kash. And maybe they're doing it for free. So now they're doing what Democrats usually have to pay for. Democrats don't even have to pay some of these guys. They're doing it for free.
Black pillars. You'll start to see it because they don't want Donald Trump to succeed. The doomers, the black pillars, and the liberal media.
And the liberal media, they're on the same page. Because there's no such thing as an anti-Trump winner. There's no such thing as going anti-Trump and going, I'm going to save this country, but not with Trump. Not with Trump. That's why the corruption has gone so long in this country, right under Republicans' noses, what Biden and Obama did. For all their terms, 12 years, and Republicans were completely ineffective. The closest thing we've had to anything good happening remotely to the Republican Party in 20 years has been Donald Trump. And people are ready to throw him out. Okay, fire him. Let's see how well the next guy does. Maybe the next one. Trump didn't quite do it enough. He didn't do what I wanted. My definition of America first. Let's wait. The next guy will be great. You're going to get a Paul Ryan next. How do you like that? You'll go, well, maybe the next one. How about this one? Let's put gas in the tank of this one. Halfway through the term. He's not even halfway through his second term. Oh, this is the thread I was telling you about. So this is what he was talking about with the Liz Wheeler thing, but this is actually where Liz Wheeler got it from. This is the giant, it's very complicated, guys, so I'm sorry. I should save this till the end, but this is the giant conspiracy against Pete Hegseth, and now the same thing is being done against Kash Patel. This is the thread from Data Republican. She's one of my favorite researchers. The true reason Pete Hegseth is being targeted right now is because he's standing between President Trump and a coup. So there's a coup going on, or they're trying to get a coup. But you cannot get a coup. You cannot overthrow the president without taking out the head of the military, which is Pete Hegseth. He's the one they have to get replaced. Now, this is a conspiracy. You guys know I don't indulge conspiracies, but this one is not a whack job with no evidence. This one, they did all the paperwork and found all the evidence. Pete Hegseth named the institutions: CFR, the Brookings Institute, the general class, in 37 seconds in a video by Liz Wheeler, as the super chat said. Within 72 hours of his nomination, a color revolution planning document cited him as an insider threat. They didn't go after him because of the drinking. They didn't go after him because of women. They went after, because if they did care about women, they'd go after those 6 women that are going to get hanged in Iran. They went after him because every color revolution manual ever written says the same thing. You cannot topple a government unless the security forces defect. You have to take out the Pete Hegseth first and get everyone under him to lose confidence and defect. And a loyal Secretary of Defense is the one person who makes sure they don't defect. I have the receipts, their own documents, their own training sessions, their own words on camera. As always, this person, they put together a thread. Here's a video.
Trump threatened the international order, Council on Foreign Relations, Washington, D.C., Brookings Institute types. They were never told their wars were stupid or their generals were losers or that NATO didn't step up, that China would unleash a virus. So let's call it the China virus and hold them to account for it. All of those things were a calling out of an international order that was failing and is continuing to fail and now has a great advocate in the regime currently in the White House. And Ukraine, it's basically a fight Donald Trump by fighting Putin through Zelensky war. They finally found a war they just absolutely love.
Yeah, they finally found the war they absolutely love, the war in Ukraine, because they think they're fighting Trump by going after Putin because they believe their own lies. And now everyone's like, what Ukraine war just fell out of the news? Here's a few data points on that research. This is not my theory. This is theirs. Erica Chenoweth and Maria Stefan, the 2 most cited scholars in the color revolution field, studied 323 regime change campaigns. They're finding security force defections make campaigns 46 times more likely to succeed. So that's number one. That's where they got their data to go. We have to get the military to mass leave. So what did the co-author Maria Stefan do next? She became chief organizer of the Horizons Project. And on July 16th, 2025, she trained New Kings participants on video, or No Kings. Security forces refused to obey orders to repress protesters. 100,000, 30,000 people were told when they track and power within the shifts, the entire edifice can crumble. They equal the security forces, our military. Yes, Stefan's teachings are now informing a mass American audience that it's how you bring down a government is to oppose our military. It gets worse. I'm going to skip down to the disobey orders one because that's one that we're all very familiar with. Right there. 6 days later, November 18th, 6 Democrat members of Congress, all military veterans, release a video telling active duty troops, you must refuse legal orders. 5 of the 6 were recruited through a single organization, the New Politics Leadership Academy, which is communist and funded by these people. 1 pipeline, 1 talent program, 5 of 6. Mark Kelly was the 6th. The administration took the bait exactly as the playbook predicted. Trump called them traitors and threatened death. Hegseth opened a Pentagon investigation. Grand jury convened under 18 U.S.C. 2387. Sedition. It failed. That should tell you how special that grand jury was that we went through earlier in the show, because this one against Mark Kelly failed. And it's because they had a Democrat grand jury. There you go. John Fetterman is shocked the Democrat Party is rooting for the bad guys, his party. Now, we already have an Alan Dershowitz defection from the Democrat Party. He didn't become an independent. He became a Republican. Good man. I hope Fetterman does the same thing over this kind of stuff.
A lot of people in my party and a lot of people in the media has turned Iran into the underdog. You know, they're like Rudy and putting them up on their shoulders and cheering for Iran at this point. It's absurd. It's absurd. You know, I'm going to, back, the president. I'm going to back our military in Israel through until that 60-day is triggered. And then there's an opportunity to extend that by 30 days. No matter how many times you're going to vote, no. Why? Because that just has empowered and emboldened Iran to continue for these.
The Democrats have empowered and emboldened Iran that is going to hang 6 women. Rasmussen reports, welcome to election deniers. This is on all the people saying that Trump is an election denier. There's a secret memo dated January 15th, 2020, declassified March 16th, 2026, public release April 20th, 2026. Everything you've been told was impossible is possible. Someone needs to be shot for this. I don't agree with that, but it's basically all the notes on the ways that our elections can be stolen. And this is a bipartisan finding. So everyone that says Trump, he says the election was rigged, that's impossible. He still denies election results. Not true. It was our own intelligence agencies, the FBI, all the way up. So not just Trump, not just Republicans. Let me get this other setup here. We got too much news, guys. Thumbs up. We got 3,200 people watching. We got to get those numbers up. Looking good. Of course, you're the only audience I need. Really. Now, for those of you who said Ted Cruz would be a great Supreme Court justice, I semi-agree. $10 super chat. Politically incorrect forever. Mark Elias and Norm Isom are behind this too. Yes, Mark Elias of that Act Blue guy. Big trouble. Slick lawyer. Here's Ted Cruz on the Arctic frost investigation, nailing Nathan Wade. Ted Cruz.
So this was a coordinated, organized operation by the Biden White House, the Biden Justice Department, and the Democrat Party to try to destroy their political opposition because they were terrified that the voters would do what they did, which is in November 2024, re-elect President Donald Trump. And this was the single greatest assault on democracy our nation has ever seen.
Election interference. And democracy was on the ballot. They just didn't know that if you voted for a Democrat, you were voting against democracy because they were trying to attack and overturn an election.
Our Democrat friends are not shy about saying they're defending democracy, except when it comes to actually letting people vote. And they're willing to use all political power to stop people from voting.
Yeah, we're still on this. I appreciate Ted Cruz's hard work on this. He's doing what he does great, very well. A little more on Iran, how the talks have completely fallen through. No one's talking. Part of it is Trump doesn't know we don't even know who to talk to. These are the players. So that guy in the upper left, Jared Kushner, Wilkoff on the upper right, Rubio, Hegseth. Following reports that U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance arrived at the White House for a policy meeting on Iran, CNN has said that in the past 2 hours, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, Jared Kushner, and White House Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, have all been viewed entering the White House. So this means they're having a big meeting. Now, I had earlier predicted, I thought that we're going to go in and start bombing again. I still think we will. I just think that's the prudent thing to do. I don't have any information on that. That's purely me speculating. You have to know that I'm speculating and guessing on that. But Trump has called to extend the ceasefire. But I never know if that's actually what he's going to do, if you know what I mean. You never tell your enemy what you're going to do. If you really want to do damage to your enemy, you tell them there's a ceasefire. Okay. There's Gunther Eagleman. VP JD Vance's trip to Pakistan for peace talks with Iran is now off. Iran flat out rejecting America's terms and refusing to even show up. So we'd reported this yesterday. So I thought I'd give you the rest of this report that JD Vance was going to go and now he did not go. That's a huge collapse of peace talks.
But now it appears to be official that JD Vance, the vice president's trip to Pakistan to meet with Iranian officials for a second round of negotiations is on hold. This is because the Iranians, who really don't have much of a negotiating position, have decided that they don't want to accept America's terms, and so they're not going to show up. So more on this as we get it. Sam?
They decided to eat missiles for dinner instead of negotiate. Bad move, lunatics. Because Trump, yeah, never tell the, right here, Texas knows. Texas Gidget, never tell the enemy what you're doing. I don't want to know. I see Republican podcasts, Charles C.W. Cook, all these guys going, Trump, it's just so terrible what he's doing in Iran. We support him. We want to support him, but he just won't give us a clear mission. What if not giving the world a clear mission is the part of his mission? You know? What if is all I'm saying. On the Democrats supporting the enemy instead of an ally. Lawler is on MSNBC just beating the living daylights out of this Tur lady, T-U-R, Katie Tur reports.
I'll ask you this instead. And
you haven't heard of her because she's on MS Now.
And I'm not defending this regime. I don't think they're good. No one does.
Well, frankly,
Oh, they're not good. They're hanging 8 women. They're going to sexually assault 8 women. And she goes, look, I'm not saying they're good. They're not good. Well, that's very generous of you, Katie Tur. That's like going, remember the Norm Macdonald thing with, he goes, I just did some research on Adolf Hitler. And you know what? That guy's a real jerk. It's one of my favorite jokes.
Some of my colleagues
Okay.
seem to be defending them, which is
Now,
really
hold
quite
on.
jarring.
What is your line for how this would be considered a success? What does the president need to get out of this from the Iranians to determine or deem this war a success?
My audience can tell you right now 2 things. How come Katie Tur can't figure it out? They act like Trump is so unreasonable. They're all, given he's nuts and there's just no making sense of this whole thing. What are the 2 things Trump says over and over? Yeah. In fact, the one thing for sure, no nuke. What, Katie? He said it literally 1,000 times. Number 2, open the Strait of Hormuz. If that's a mystery to MS Now, this lady should quit her job in shame. Imbecile.
Okay, so let's go through it. Number 1, would you agree that the elimination of the Ayatollah, the clerics, and the leadership of the IRGC
There's
was
a
a
new
positive
Ayatollah
step
who
forward?
might be much more hardline.
You say
There's a new
that.
Ayatollah who
You know,
might be
it's
much more
amazing,
hardline.
Katie. It's amazing, Katie. Based on what? Based on what? The guy has not even been seen in 8 weeks.
Based on the reporting that we
Based
have,
on
the best
what?
reporting that
And
we
this
have
is-
about
yeah,
him.
the
Do you
best
have better
reporting. You all
reporting?
repeat
Do you have
the
better
same-
intelligence?
you all-
Do you have better reporting? Do you have better intelligence than MS Now? Everyone has better reporting and intelligence than MS Now. Look at this. She's so cocky. He's going, will you admit that we wiped out the Ayatollah and the regime, that's at least better? And she goes, well, we don't know. We don't know if he's going to be replaced by something worse. By the way, this is the same thing every libertarian isolationist says. They're like, one thing we learned about Iraq is if you go in without a plan and you wipe out the leadership, it's going to just be filled in with something worse. You never, ever can change anything in the world. By the way, we did remove Saddam Hussein was removed by his own people. And lo and behold, Iraq is no longer a terrorist threat to anyone. They were before. They're not now. They're not showing up. There's not even a news article about what Iraq is doing since we went in. I'm not saying that's a victory. I'm not saying that's what we're trying to do. I'm only saying the idea that by necessity, if we take out the Ayatollah and his son's in a coma, that by necessity someone worse will come? I don't know that. And Lawler's only going, give me evidence. She goes, I don't have any evidence, just the best reporting in the world. Okay. Krevlab, $10 super chat. How in the world did I know exactly what you were going to say? Thank you.
Repeat the same talking point. You all repeat the same.
And they're all repeating the same talking point. They all got the same script. This is what you say about the war in Iran to undermine the troops, undermine the president, and you pray that it goes bad. She's praying that someone worse gets in charge of Iran so they can have more women with acid thrown in their face. That's what she's rooting for. Please just give Trump the lose.
Point.
You're on the
This
Foreign
is the
Affairs
problem.
Committee. Do you
Well,
have
I am
better
on the Foreign Affairs
intelligence
Committee, and I am
that
the
you
chair of
can
the Middle
relate
East,
to
and I
us
actually do
about
sit
who this
down
Ayatollah
and
is?
engage
Tell me.
on these issues. You're literally repeating the same nonsensical talking point that every member of the media does and every far-left Democrat does.
And libertarians do. He missed them. They repeat it too.
This is now a much more hardline Ayatollah. Give me a break. The fact is,
Tell
you
me
have
about
seen
him. If
the
you know about him, tell me
Ayatollah,
about
you have
him.
seen the clerics, and you have seen the leadership of the IRGC eliminated. You have seen the ballistic missiles program severely debilitated. You have seen their naval fleet nearly obliterated. Yes, there are still issues to resolve, including the enriched uranium. But as CBS News reported this weekend, they had the capabilities to produce 9 to 11 nuclear bombs. Would you have liked to wait until they actually had the nuclear bomb? Would you have liked to wait until they used the nuclear bomb? Would you have?
That's what they're doing. They're going, you should have waited. We should have waited till they for sure had one, or until they use it on Israel, the one bomb state, they call it. Then they have to go around and go, what are we going to do? Who could have seen this? They used a nuke on France. If only someone would have done something about it.
Like to wait until they use it in a negotiation.
So Congressman, what is your
Decisions
line of
had to be
success?
made,
What
and
is
it
your
was made.
definition of success?
Well, we have already seen over these 8 weeks serious progress made in dealing with a regime that has been at war with the United States for 47 years.
They don't have a Navy. They don't have an Air Force. We wiped out a ton of their munitions, the factories that actually allow them to even put not just nukes together, but long-range missiles together. We got rid of their missiles. We got rid of their factories that make the missiles. Maybe not all of them, but a whole lot of them. Now we've got Strait of Hormuz locked up. They're trying to pump oil. There's no way they can get it out of their own country. As Trump said, they're losing $500 million a day. So instead of allowing them to be a terrorist regime funded by selling oil, we've stopped their ability to move their oil out. So they're going to go bankrupt. And this lady is praying and hoping that we get out of there and leave them in power to develop a nuke, all because she wants to win Trump. These people are a cult, the Trump derangement syndrome cult.
We have also seen an Iranian regime, the remnants of it, actually start to negotiate on red lines that we have said, including turning over their enriched uranium. Is it going to be resolved in 5 seconds? No. That is the challenge with war. That is the challenge with complex negotiations involving a terrorist regime.
They're going, that's thanks to Newsbusters. They're going, he already had 6 weeks. What does he want? By the way, the IRGC, they're gonna kill that other regime that we were negotiating with. I'm sure of it. Okay. You will get no agreements from the IRGC, says John Bukele. You'll get no agreements from the IRGC, and their agreements are meaningless because they always lie and cheat. True. Because they're occultic lunatics. Nope. These 4 pictures here are the only things they really understand. And these are the tools that will obtain their surrender. As in part 1 of this war, target their leadership and start targeting their oil infrastructure. No more games. And the only thing we want to hear from them is, we surrender. We wish that they talked more like France. Then we'd get somewhere. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent going after the finances here. Today, as part of economic fury, This is the economic part of Operation Fury. Part of Economic Fury, Treasury's official Office of Foreign Assets Control is sanctioning 14 targets for their involvement in helping the Iranian regime obtain weapons. As this regime attempts to reconstitute its production capacity, the U.S. will continue to deplete. Scott Bessent says the Iranian regime must be held accountable for its extortion of global energy markets and indiscriminate targeting of civilians with missiles and drones. Under the President of the United States leadership, as part of the Economic Fury, Treasury will continue to follow the money and target the Iranian regime's recklessness and those who enable it. I like hearing from Never Trumpers, Eric Erickson, when they agree with me. Because to me, it shows we're deeply penetrating into the other side when Never Trumpers like Eric Erickson start making points that defend Trump.
Pakistanis have put on a good show of selling this meeting in Islamabad. Everything was set to go. We were told the vice president, Jared Kushner, and Steve Witkoff were en route. Turns out they were not. J.D. Vance, as of 34 minutes ago, was headed to the White House. He is probably there now. This is the last day of the ceasefire. The president might as well go on and start bombing Iran again. What we are also told is that Vance and his team were headed to Islamabad. The Iranians had no intention of showing up. Now, there are multiple reports out there that are very relevant here. We have been told, and I think quite reliably, that the diplomatic political corps of Iran did wish to go to Islamabad and cut a deal, but the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps has prohibited it. The Ayatollah is presumed to still be incapacitated and not in charge or figurehead if he is alive. The IRGC is calling the shots, and they think they're winning. You know, one of the reasons the IRGC thinks it's winning? Because of the Western press. The IRGC thinks that because the Western press is so hostile to Donald Trump and essentially saying Iran is getting stronger, they're believing the Western press. And
they're getting their information from the Democrat media, like MS Now, CNN. They're causing harm and danger to our military. Our Western media is so negative, and Alex Jones and the isolationists that say we got to get out of there. The Ayatollah, the terrorists are going, look, all we got to do is hold out a little longer. Half of America is against this guy. All we got to do is lay low. We'll beat him. The Americans will demand he pull out. And then we can finally throw more acid on women's faces because they believed our media.
Western press is broken about Donald Trump. So just follow along with me here. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps thinks it is winning because the American press corps is saying Iran is winning, even though they're not.
Fact.
The American press corps is saying Iran is winning because they hate Donald Trump and they don't want to credit him with his attack or success of the attack or advance of the attack. So they're essentially propping up Iran, and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps believes they're winning. The Iranian president is screaming that the economy is in free fall and about to be completely bankrupt and collapse. And the IRGC is like, no, the American press corps says we're getting richer off of this. We got to believe them. This is wild. Everybody's falling for each other's propaganda. The only one who hadn't been fooled is Donald Trump.
I love it. The only one that hasn't been fooled is Donald Trump. Oh, and my audience, because all I do, my only technique is I go and listen to the people in charge, and they tell you the truth. And I don't tell you what I prefer. I tell you what's really going on. And all those other audiences are going, we're losing in Iran. We got to get out of there. We're losing. It was so close, but we're losing. We're going to embarrass ourselves, Marjorie Taylor Greene. This isn't what Trump ran on. And the IRGC is going, please, the Western media is saying that we're winning, so we will keep going. Thank you for bringing aid and comfort to the enemy. And if we can just stay in power, we can marry more 9-year-old nieces. That's what they do. It's legal. They can marry 9-year-old nieces. And the people who dared to tell you that they wanted to get the Epstein files released because they care about victims and children. Marjorie Taylor Greene cares about victims and children. Sure as hell doesn't care about thousands and thousands more victims in Iran than have ever been mentioned in the Epstein files. Thousands and thousands more victims. She doesn't care. The Democrat Party doesn't care. The Me Too movement doesn't care. The people that said Trump is crass and said he could grab women by the hoo-hoo doesn't care. The one that accused him of sexual assault of E. Jean Carroll, they don't care. The ones that went after him for saying that he slept with Stormy Daniels to cover up his campaign money, they don't care. None of the feminists care. None of the Christians that say that he's too crass care about the IRGC. The Pope doesn't care, who's saying peace at all costs, do not fire on these people. He doesn't care about an Ayatollah marrying his 9-year-old niece. The only being on this planet that is capable of threatening that Ayatollah and ending that regime's law that allows them to marry 9-year-old girls is a guy named Donald J. Trump. That's why we support him. That's why there's no MAGA or no win outside of Trump. One person in 20 years is an effective Republican. One person. And the Republican Party is going, well, let's wash this guy out and we can go back to what it was like in 2012 under Obama. Good plan. Is that your plan? Thune? Johnson? All the lifers in Congress. Is that your plan? House and Senate. Okay. Now I'm getting all hot under the collar. I think it's time for us to have a little fun. How do we have fun on this show, guys? What do we make fun of all the time? What do we make fun of all the time? It's time for an update on UFOs. UFO whack job imbeciles. Yeah, well, we do make fun of Democrats, it's true. But the only one that I think I make fun of more than Democrats, because it's too fun, are these UFO chasers. So this is Rep. Eric Burleson, who we love, and on Benny Johnson, who we dig. But they're talking about UFOs. So automatic comment to me. I know there's people out there that believe in UFOs and aliens. I'm saying it'd be fun to find an alien and find out that they all follow Jesus because their mind is so advanced. Everyone assumes they're going to be atheist and go like, oh, but what if they're demons? What if they're these atheist perfect brains that have no emotion? What if they go to the aliens and the aliens open up a Bible and go, we've been reading John 3:16 our whole life. We know that Jesus is God. And all the atheists and all the government libertarians go like, no! The liberals that are hoping the aliens will come and bring us 0-point energy, teach us about interdimensional travel. Teach us about interdimensional travel. You're so advanced. They're advanced way beyond us. And they go, we believe in the Lamb of God. We have come to bring you the good news on our government. That's why they've been keeping it quiet for 50 years. No one else comes up with this. This is why I write comic books, guys. No one else would come up with this. What if our government is keeping Area 51 down and quiet and cover up every UFO, and they don't want the crashed aliens to be found because they'll preach that Jesus is Lord to the world and say that they have absolute proof. We have traveled through time. We went to the cross and saw him buried and resurrect from the dead. And everyone would be like, no! It's not the Christians that go, wait, there's aliens. I just lost my salvation. I believe in evolution now. There's no God. No, it's the atheists when they hear from this incredible, divine, great mind. Go, we are sola scriptura. We baptize our infants. We go to church and worship God every day, singing Psalms and Proverbs. We take communion. And they're like, no, you're supposed to be advanced. This one cracked me up.
given the fact that you have a clearance and you have the ability to go into a SCIF or the capacity to go and sit in classified settings and get briefed on what the federal government has as far as UFO evidence. You made a claim this weekend that I thought was remarkable, a craft too big to move. Can you unpack that for us?
Look at Benny Johnson. Benny, come on. Is this for clicks? Are you only fascinated for clicks? Come on, you got to wink at him a little bit. You got to laugh for a second. There's a craft we found that's too big to move. This is false. However, I'll let these two gentlemen indulge. Let's, give them enough line. There's a craft underground that's too big to move that we have found. Alien craft. I want an address. I want a location.
I was told that.
I was told. Wait, did you see it yourself? No. Look at, I was told that. Dang it. I thought I was going to, I want a picture. I want evidence. Remember, we found, according to these guys, this would be the most photographed object in our government's history. They found a crashed vehicle that's too big to move. What's too big to move? It would have to be like what? A football field? Football field? How big is too big to move?
I was told that in a SCIF and also outside of one.
He was told in a SCIF, which are soundproof rooms, so that the information doesn't get out. And this guy's talking on Benny Johnson. I heard it in a SCIF, top secret SCIF, a quiet place. I heard it from an eyewitness guy. And now I'm telling everyone on YouTube on the Benny Johnson show, we have a vehicle too big to move. All right, well, what's the purpose of the SCIF? Why didn't you just go on TV? Why didn't they release it on CNN? Why did they give it to you? He was going to go, oh, because it's a top security clearance only. Oh, then why are you repeating what you heard in a SCIF? This doesn't make sense. None of it does. But you're supposed to go, oh, this is high-end stuff. He heard it in a SCIF. It must be true. He heard from a guy and heard from another guy and who heard from another guy.
That there is a craft at a location in a foreign country that is too big to move. They built a building around it.
They built a building around it. It's so big they can't move it. They don't know what it is. It's a crashed saucer. And so they decided to build a building around it. Guys, this story gets worse the longer it goes. The longer it goes. They built it, and we're going to go into that. I'm going to ask Grok in a minute. I will ask Grok what country and where's the building, because this gets better.
They built a building around it. It is, it's in a foreign country, and it is a U.S. installation.
A U.S. installation, a base. That would be a U.S. base.
I can't say anything more than
I can't say anything more than that, because that would just violate the honor of the SCIF. I can't say more than that, what he heard from this guy. What possible other secret could you not reveal? That it had a giant unicorn horn on the front the size of a football field? Well, you can't reveal that. I can reveal that we have a ship crashed in a foreign country, too big to move, that we built a base around, but I just can't tell you that it's full of little men, little aliens. Or I just can't tell you what. What possibly could you not tell that was not already just giving away? If this is supposed to be a big secret, he's not supposed to give this stuff away, and now we all know. I never heard this story before. Now everyone knows because of him, he breached the SCIF. It's on a base in another country. I can't say more than that. Got to keep this secret going. I mean, I'm not irresponsible here. Oh, and I talked to him. Okay, I can't tell you anything more than that. And we played chess, but I can't tell you anything more than that. 2 legs, 2 arms, naked, gray. no genitalia, a Democrat's dream. He spoke to me through his mind. But okay, and that's all I'm going to say. I can't tell you anything more than that.
It's on like a U.S. military base installation.
I can't really say anything more than that.
I
But
can't
can
say anything more than that. Guys, what's the bigger secret? That we found a ship the size of a football, too big to move, or that it might be that the building might be a military base? What's the bigger secret? What do you mean you have a ship from another planet crashed in another country? Benny Johnson, is that a military base? Well, I could never say that. Oh, none of this is ever going to make sense. It's going to be more of this BS for the rest of my life. I already know it.
It would be quite a trip to get there.
Now he's going how far away the place is. It would be quite a trip to get there. Well, I thought you couldn't say anything more. Well, okay, it'd be quite a trip to get there. Do you want us to find it or not? He just wants us to know, in case you were thinking it wouldn't be quite a trip to get there. It would be quite a trip to get there. Come on. I mean, for me, if I was walking Fresno, California, it'd be quite a trip to get there.
I'm going to continue to do research.
I'm going to you keep doing your research, guys. Do more work. Let me score this. Let me get this down here. Let's do some grok. Grok, where's the location of this base this congressman is talking about? Grok says, the congressman, Rep. Eric Burleson, has not publicly named the exact location or country. Yeah, we saw. He only described it as a U.S. installation in a foreign country where a massive craft, too big to move, had a building constructed around it. Speculation in recent interviews online, including ties to Dr. Stephen Greer. There's another nut job. That's the whole documentary one, Stephen Greer. Comments frequently points to a site outside of Seoul, South Korea. I could never say that it was in a base. Why couldn't you say it was in a base to Seoul, South Korea? Would I freak out? Grok's figuring it out already. But that's unconfirmed by Burleson himself. He plans to investigate further. Fair enough, but we're asking, where do you think it is? From everything public, Burleson's briefings, his interviews, and the direct ties to Stephen Greer's statements, the strongest speculation points to a U.S.-linked site in the mountains outside Seoul, South Korea. So there. So we do know now. Well, it'd take a long time to get there. A massive craft, too big to move, with a building constructed around it. Burleson hasn't confirmed the exact spot. He's heading there soon. So it's unverified. Yeah, no kidding. That's my best read on it. Okay. Can I be done with UFOs yet, guys? That is nasty. Nasty. It's mean to do to people because we want to believe. I'm with you. I'm like, hey, this would be great. Let's get with those aliens and this information. But it's going to be 6 years of this, and we already heard confirmation from Burchett and Anna Paulina Luna. They both go, look, we don't have beings. The things that we're trying, the 46 videos that we're trying to release, they're just spacecraft of some kind or blurry video or whatever. No beings, no crashed anything. So no hard evidence for anything. You don't get that. So you're going to get more blurry footage. How about footage of that site? Something tells me it's going to fall short. By the way, Anna Paulina Luna, this was hilarious. I saw her. Now, I think she's being very irresponsible on this BS because she's a believer. As soon as you're a believer, I don't believe what information you're giving me. I don't care if it's Tim Burchett or Matt Gaetz or Anna Paulina Luna, people who I normally love and advocate for. If you just believe in UFOs and that's why you're into this thing, now I don't believe anything you say. I want a skeptic to go in and go, look, I'm not a believer. That's the guy I want to release the information and tell me what he sees. The one that goes, look, I'm a huge skeptic, but here's the footage and this is what I saw and this is me on video going to the site. That's the guy I want to hear from. Anna Polina Luna tweeted, I think it was day before yesterday. She said, all I can say is read the book of Enoch. Read the book of Enoch. So as soon as she wrote that, I went, up. There we go. Everyone in church knows you go to Sunday school. Anytime there's a kid asking a question, it's either the book of Revelation, what happens with the dragon and the releasing of the seals and the end times and the beast, or it's the Nephilim in Genesis 6:4, where the sons of heaven came down and mated with the sons of earth and created this race of giants, da-da-da. It's the Nephilim. Everything's the Nephilim. The elongated heads of the Pharisees, and Goliath was part Nephilim, and they're still here today. I'm 6'8", by the way. If anyone's a Nephilim, it's me. So maybe I'm just BSing everyone. I'm 6'8". Is that suspicious? Is there anyone more Nephilim than me as far as height goes? If there's a six, they're always like, they're 7 foot tall. They're 6'8", 6'9". Grays are the intelligent ones. I'm like, wait, I'm 6'8", I'm 6'9". I should just put like gray makeup on me and run around naked outside. I'd be like, boo, give me your car. And they give me their car. Thank you. And I drive away. Book of Enoch. Sorry, Anna Polina Luna, you lost me. Mike Davis. Mike Davis. I've fought 4 years for this picture. The dream team. This is the dream team, according to Mike Davis. Lawyer up, lawfare Democrats. Justice is definitely coming, as promised, and soon delivered. Todd Blanche, Redding, Judge Yara. Welcome to the fight, Joe DiGenova, right there in the middle. So this is the dream team that we're putting all of our hopes and faith in, that there's going to be an actual arrest. And then look at this guy, Navy vet, says, so arrest one Democrat. You're going to get a lot of that. So arrest, this is all going to be just hate on where's the arrests? Where's the arrest? Just arrest one Democrat. You guys know why there's no arrest. Well, we're getting close to an arrest here. Fox News Politics. The Center to Advance Security in America files judicial misconduct complaint against Judge Boasberg. We'll take that as a win. A misconduct complaint citing internal Department of Justice notes referring pre-charge briefings with Jack Smith's team. So he did an illegal boo-boo if he tipped off Jack Smith's team. Let's read about it here at Fox News. Exclusive, Trump's D.C. judicial nemesis. Excuse me. I just swallowed I sent some spit down to my lungs. Wrong pipe, Doug. Wrong one. Trump's D.C. judicial nemesis targeted in misconduct complaint over alleged Biden Department of Justice ties. That would be Biden ties to Boasberg. Center to Advance Security in America cited internal DOJ notes referencing meetings about the Arctic frost probe with Boasberg. Watchdog Group filed a complaint against Judge Boasberg on Tuesday. Why, that's today. It's almost like I bring you the news happening today. I could have done an Ilhan Omar that would have gotten more views, but not as relevant as this news I'm bringing you. Tuesday, alleging he improperly coordinated with Biden Department of Justice officials on sweeping investigations tied to former President Trump and his allies. If that is true, this is a crooked conspiracy. If true, this one I liked. I mean, it's a horrifying video, but it's very informative. This is right at the end of the ceasefire deal in Vanak Square in Tehran. So these are going to be freedom fighters in the street, and then the IRGC opens fire on them. I just want you to imagine fighting for your country, and you're walking in the streets against them when this happens. That is a giant missile, in case you can't tell what that is. This is what they're parading through the street right during the ceasefire. Guys, if I saw this, I'd be horrified. Absolutely horrified. And then they opened fire on the protesters. We have no idea how great we have it. Revolutionary uprising in Tehran. The Revolutionary Guard places Qualabaf, Pezeshkian, and Arakchi under house arrest, allegedly. Negotiations with America are halted. The world awaits Trump's decision. So that Iranian radicals, they do not want to give up anything. Speaking of not wanting to give up anything, here's Chuck Schumer. What side is he on? They ask. What side are you on?
Recently, one of the leading Senate candidates in Michigan, Democratic candidates, said that the Israeli government was just as evil as Hamas. You voted to continue those arms sales.
Did you hear that? The Democrat that won in Michigan said Israel was as evil as Hamas. And so they're going to Jewish Chuck Schumer and asking his response.
You're on the wrong side of public opinion in your party on
Look,
this issue.
our caucus is united and focused on ending the war.
Okay. Ending the war that Jews want to continue. Ending the war of terror against Israel and America. They just want to end it and give victory to the guys that were just parading a giant, it could be an intercontinental ballistic missile. And they're going, will you comment on the guy, the Democrat in Michigan that just won, that said Israel was as bad as the terrorists? And he goes, look, we're staying focused on what a deflection. He could have said just something normal, but this shows the radicals have taken over the Democrat Party.
In Iran. And that's why we're going to be voting tomorrow on Baldwin's resolution, and we're going to keep voting on those resolutions again and again and again.
Okay. Thank you for nothing, Chuck. Way to defend the terrorists. They're happy you're carrying their water. This is my favorite one of the day. This is some good candy right here, guys. Watch this lady. Up top, the old lady. This bottom girl is going to set her up. This is an absolute setup. She give her quotes. And this lady up top thinks they're from Trump, but really they're from Hillary and Kamala Harris.
He says things like, if I'm the president, we will attack Iran. There is no safe haven.
Ha. Of course, you know.
And people voted for that.
I know. I don't understand it. It just makes me very sad that and not only that, the man truly is insane.
Yeah.
He's gone.
Insane people say stuff like this.
The deep end.
Right. I mean, insane people say things like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I hate to do this to you because you're such a nice lady. Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris said all of that, not Donald Trump.
Really?
Yes.
Really? She goes, I hate to say this because you're such a nice lady. What we need to realize, she is a nice lady. Nice people are hateful. Nice people do hateful things. Marjorie Taylor Greene might be a nice lady. I don't care how nice you are. You're nice, fine, and you undermine our troops. You're nice, fine, and you also vote to abort 3,000 babies, half of them black, every day. Real nice. You're nice, but there's 8 women being hanged in Iran. And you're fighting against it. So these statements of Hillary said, if I was president, I would bomb Iran. And this lady goes, that's a lunatic. Anyone who'd vote for that would be a lunatic. And then she goes, actually, that's not Trump. That's Hillary Clinton said that. Oh, okay.
That makes me very sad. He must have been like taking notes on those things.
That's a great excuse. He must have been taking notes from Hillary Clinton when Trump decided to bomb Iran. He was taking notes from Hillary, who said, if I was president, I'd bomb Iran. That's her deflection. This lady, you have no interest, lady. If that's nice, I'll take, I would rather have mean people. I want mean people that do the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, they're all right here, and I have them with dates and everything. The fact check. She said, if I'm the president, we will attack Iran. There is no safe haven. Hillary Clinton said that.
But ... What came after that?
Well, maybe we will use all elements of American power, or I will always ensure Israel has what it needs to defend itself from Iran. Maybe when she said we would be able to totally obliterate them, maybe that's what came before. I don't know. I mean, Kamala Harris said Iran has American blood on its hands. I will never hesitate to take whatever action is necessary.
Yeah. Now all the Democrats suddenly find their will only because of Trump. These people cannot be ever near power again. Never put an X next to a Democrat. These people are nuts and they'll get us all killed. And they do not care. They also do not care. Even worse. Barak Ravid, Iran's Tasnim news agency, which is affiliated with the IRGC, reported on Tuesday afternoon that the Iranian negotiating team has informed the U.S. through the Pakistani mediators that it will not be present on Wednesday, tomorrow, in Islamabad, and that for now there's no outlook for Iranian participation in the negotiations. Bill Malugan, breaking, President Trump extends ceasefire. So this is Trump's response that he probably did with J.D. Vance, and I'm hoping he's only extending it to completely bomb the living daylights out of them. Breaking, President Trump extends ceasefire. Statement of Trump. Based on the fact that the government of Iran is seriously fractured, not unexpectedly so, and upon the request of Field Marshal Asim Munir and Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif of Pakistan, we've been asked to hold our attack on the country of Iran until such time as their leaders and representatives can come up with a unified proposal. So Iran is so divided, they're not going to even get two Iranians to agree on the same proposal. I have therefore remained ready and able, and will therefore extend the ceasefire until such time as their proposal is submitted and discussions are concluded, one way or the other, President Donald Trump. Now, this, I think, is Trump throwing a fast one on him, but it sounds so vague, I just really can't believe it. Oh, look, I said I wouldn't do Ilhan Omar. Here's Ilhan Omar getting nailed today.
Tell us about your net worth dropping down to about 100,000.
Can you tell us about your net worth dropping? She's wearing her hijab in solidarity with Iran against those women who do not wear a hijab. Right here in America, ladies and gentlemen, here's James O'Keefe. U.S. nuke chief Andrew Hugg was just escorted out of the Pentagon around an hour ago. Hugg's been placed on leave and is under investigation. Below is the U.S. Army's official comment on our news investigation. This is something James O'Keefe broke. This Hugg guy, he's a U.S. top nuclear chief caught leaking sensitive national security information to a stranger, reveals the Army chemist was exposed to U.S. chemical nerve agent, confirms U.S. strikes have killed children in Iran, discloses U.S. plans to kill Iran's new supreme leader. He's telling strangers.
Security interests, we have omitted.
So I'm not interested in repeating that information. I can't even confirm it. He could be lying for all I know just to get attention. That's kind of the problem. Here's Iran just issued a direct warning. The IRGC says if neighboring countries help with the attacks, they can say goodbye to oil production, a threat at the entire region's energy lifeline. This is on their state news. Look at the bombs that they're showing on their news. This is what they're threatening will happen to their allies. And finally, last piece of news here, and then I'll have my desk cleared off. The Israeli military has sentenced 2 soldiers to jail for destroying a statue of Jesus. So we showed 2 soldiers earlier this week destroying a statue of Jesus. And they're going like, look at the Jews. This is how they disrespect Christians. No. The Israeli military quickly sentenced 2 soldiers instantly to jail for destroying a statue of Jesus. The punishment was handed down just 72 hours after the incident. Good on the IDF for swift action. And now I hope it's been 2 hours and we have 3,100 people watching, and I think we're starting to top out here on the numbers. So I can't thank you guys enough for the thumbs up and your support. And I just buried you after doing 2 shows. This is the 3rd day. All the leftover news, I got all caught up, cleared my desk off, and now we have fed you a full meal, including aliens, Todd Blanche, a little clip of Ilhan Omar, what's going on in Iran, everything, everywhere, all at once, only here on Doug in Exile. Thanks for watching.